Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I'm Dean and today I'm talking with Matt O'Brien, who's the creative director at 3, and we're going to be discussing 3's in-house creative journey. So Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've worked at some great agencies like C3, VCCP, and I believe though this is your first foray in-house. Is that right?
Yeah, literally the first time I've ever done it. I think we all know 3's been an amazingly creative brand throughout the years, and I thought the opportunity to carry that on by building something new and being part of this new movement of the in-house agency sort of trend, which I don't think it is a trend. I think it is actually now more embedded. I think this is a way of working forever. Felt right for me. As much as we're part of the, this new wave of in-housing, we work very much a hybrid model with our agency partners as well. So it's all new for everyone, but we all thrown in the deep end together. And I think, a year in, we're starting to see some real success for both the agency and the brand.
I have a question a bit later about that relationship, working that hybrid model, working with outsourcing partners or other agencies as well. So we'll chat about that a bit later as well. But before we really get stuck into it, what do we actually refer to as 3's in-house agency? Have you got a brand, a name? What do we call it?
Yeah, I mean, 3 originally had a studio. So when we came to create the in-house agency, we thought branding it and giving it a proposition was really important, rather than just being, 3 studio or something to that effect. It had to have an identity. And the name that we went with was Generation, which the G from sort of 5G, 3G, etc. That was the inspiration on it. But also we wanted to have a nod to, I guess, to the new era of all this. This is a new generation for agencies. It was a newer generation for the 3 brand, but obviously it links very nicely and intrinsically into kind of our DNA as well. Having your own identity and your proposition, which is creative for the connected age. That's our proposition. Connecting everybody from the brand strategy to every channel, but also connecting all our agencies and all our internal stakeholders and everyone in the business with the same creative ambition and vision. That's kind of what I feel we have a real opportunity to do as an in-house agency.
That's a great answer, and I think it shows the importance of branding within a company, is that it's not just the name. You've gone on to speak there about the whole ambition in the round, and I think that's what branding and that's what packaging does. It kind of makes a marker and says, this is what we're here for, this is what we're here to do, and it gains you that respect in internal and when you're working with external partners. Like you said, that's what they refer to you as. It's giving you that strength of brand. So in terms of Generation, then how did Generation or that in-housing journey begin?
3 as a brand globally, I think they've got in-house agencies like across all the sort of markets, and I think the one in Ireland has done a very good job. I think part of their vision was just to bring that along. Now, I'm sure that was definitely influenced by money, cost efficiencies, like most things, but I also think they were very aware of the way the marketplace was moving. You saw Oatly, I mean, you mentioned Spexo's obviously been going for years. Lego obviously taking flight, and M&S taking working time from Grey. That was starting to happen, and it all seemed to sort of coalesce at that point, creating that integrated function that could work alongside, world-class agencies. I think the fact that there was a rebrand at the very start of when we were bought in gave us a big purpose, because it was taking kind of the strategic sort of lens of a life needs a big network and the new brand guidelines, and then our job was to bring them through channel, and that's where the in-house agency really started to be able to join the dots. That sort of felt like, I think, the purpose of it. I think having people inside that could work alongside the marketeers to deliver against their vision with efficiencies and synergy, I think was the motivation, really.
And I think that's what a lot of marketers or marketing directors or chief marketing officers are looking for. They're looking to improve that collaboration, communication, actually make that creative process fully integrated into the planning and like the strategy, like where they're headed. Yeah. I think that actually leads me on to my next question nicely, which is how have you found it working with those people in other departments? So your marketing team, or maybe even sales teams or product teams? How has that experience been?
I'll give you both sides of the coin, because it is a change. I think that's something I anticipated, but I don't think I was completely 100% prepared for. So overnight, you went from kind of a studio to this 50 people. What do we do? And all these clients going, who are they? What do we do with them? So that, as a start point, was very, very challenging. You know, big businesses, a lot of marketers have their own agencies, because they trust them, they make them look good to the right people, and they do genuinely a very good job. And to take a risk by using a new bunch of people, even though they've got the same access key to your building, you know, isn't enough. You know, you have to slowly build trust over time. The good stuff that comes out of it is you do have skin in the game. You are part of what's going on. You know, when you get it right, it goes so well, and it goes better than it's ever, for me anyway, personally, gone at an agency. We were there at the start of Life Needs a Big Network, you know, the new 3 proposition. So this agency feels like it was born out of the new dawn for the brand, as well as the business, as you know, and for us, it feels like we were all part of something new. So when you're in an agency, you have one motivation usually, which is win new clients, win big budgets, and win big awards. That's different. You know, the work isn't, I'm not saying that it's not as important, but the motivations of that business are not always about marketing and advertising. They're about things to do with telco, masts, connectivity, Wi-Fi hubs. You know, being that close to that really helps. You know, and it does help unlock great work. You know, it really does.
Again, I think that's very much the same from my experience as well. Is those insights actually help you understand the motivations that you might have, or like, you know, if you want to go in one direction creatively but you can't, at least you can understand why you've got those limitations. So that's what I appreciated myself, being able to sort of be part of it, be part of that team.
Yeah, you've got to buy into the long game of a business. I think probably 60% of my career has been very tactical. You know, I've done big brand campaigns, but a lot of it is, you know, in the morning you're working on an airline, in the evening you're working on, I don't know, a soft drink, you know, like, but in this case, everything you do contributes to that one brand, and I think that's a real like bonus and benefit that you kind of feel the value for.
I just want to touch on outsourcing, because you mentioned it a few times, or not outsourcing as much as it is as collaborating with other external partners. And I'm really interested how you set it up within 3.
Yeah, I mean, the responsibility for it doesn't sit with me, as in, like, you know, I could never call a pitch. So it just made sense for us to kind of come together and, you know, realize that we need each other. And like, ways that we've done it, I think I'd put in like a creative council. So we kind of meet with the agency heads, and then when there's big campaigns, they, like, you know, the Wonderhood, the above the line agency, they involve me. I mean, it is up to them, and they do work directly into kind of the sort of head of brand, so to speak, but they need the support internally to sell the work, know how to sell the work, because I know the processes. But I can also support the marketeer who's running that campaign with, you know, what the work should be, how do we keep it on brand, but also how do we pull it through the line, you know, how do we keep an end-to-end brand experience and we don't separate ourselves in different channels. And I think, you know, a big part of the whole in-house, in theory, is integration. So the more you can do for encouraging that, whether it's with your external partners or internal partners, it I think is your responsibility. I don't think there's a blueprint to follow, because I think it depends on where you are as a business and where you are as a brand and what your actual your marketing function is like. You know, so I can imagine there's probably some places where they'd like to keep all agencies at arm's length. But where I've previously worked and where it's worked best is where you have an all agency round table. You're all working off the same strategy. You all know what channels to play in, and you work collaboratively to deliver for an overall brand experience. You don't just try and create one thing that everyone can look at. You try and create something immersive that feels like, you know, everyone's a part of it. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with the agencies.
Do you think that the marketers that we've been discussing within 3, that I assume you consider them your clients essentially, do you get the impression that they're happy with the direction it's going, and what feedback are you getting?
I think you need to remember that they've got a million things to think about that isn't, like I say, a creative asset. You know, they want the work done and they want it done to a great standard. Where we're seeing it best is when we've come together early on what the point or problem we're trying to solve, and then working together to get to a place where we're ready to set up the creative response and then go from there, rather than sort of taking a brief cold, coming back, doing what you used to do in an agency. I think people are seeing the benefit. I think the stakeholders or clients, as you call them, do see a lot of benefit in that more than I think they probably anticipated. I think they kind of thought it would be like an agency model, more akin to what they'd seen in externals happening around them, which isolated them and detached them from the process. And I think where we've won the hearts and minds of people is where they've realised they are now actually integral to the process, and we're actually here, like external agencies, here to make them look good and solve their problems. It's just we're in the meeting room with them when the work's being presented now, not having the work presented to them to then present onto their boss. We're alongside them. To have people talking the same language all the time, and that's your point about being a consultant. You are a consultant, I think, probably 40% of the time, and 60% you're an agency person. And I think the consultancy is just as valuable as the work.
You've touched on briefs, on getting those creative requests, and how do you prioritize the work, and how do you handle briefs if you need feedback or you need more information? How do you go about managing that relationship to make sure you get the brief that you need?
Process is king, as it is in bigger established agencies. You can't leave anything to chance. Like one of the main recruits that we've had, or probably one of the most effective recruits we've had, it was a head of operations. One of the hardest things I know about communications in big businesses is actually just getting everyone aligned to follow a certain process in a certain way, because of all the kind of silos and the way the teams work. So that has been absolutely key. Establishing processes, establishing rules of sign off internally, because externally that it does become a bit of a free for all sometimes. But making sure that we're doing it the right way and sticking to what we agreed as a process whenever we do a brief, whether it be a t-shirt design or a piece of film, we've put the same rigor through it. How do we handle the volume? Well, it's simple, like planning, really. We're constantly, recruitment is key. The right sort of people, the right, you said generalists earlier. There's definitely something in kind of hybrid creatives, hybrid thinkers, hybrid planners, hybrid account people. People have to have, I think, a bit of jack of all, master of some approach, because that's what they have to do. That's what our clients have to do. So I think that helps.
Yeah, brilliant. I know we're getting really close to time, so really short answer. How's the future looking for in-housing at 3?
Big. I think to be honest, as a brand, we're growing. As a network, it's performing brilliantly, and we, as an in-house agency, will reap those rewards.
Great. It's lovely to end on a positive note, really. Honestly, I think we could probably chat for hours on this if we were just let loose, but I know you've got to rush off to another call. But thanks so much, Matt, for chatting today, and giving some insights on in-housing at 3. And thank you everybody else for watching as well. Please make sure to visit creativeinhousing.com for more on in-housing and how creative talent can help your business and marketing campaigns. So thanks very much and take care.
Cheers, Dane. Nice one.